Gigantopithecus was a genus of large ape that lived 1 million to 350,000 years ago when it was said to go extinct. It weighed as much as 300 kilograms, or 660 pounds, and stood at 3 meters, or 10 feet tall. They lived in what would today be southern China, and were omnivores like other apes, although they preferred a diet of fruit. But things took a darker turn for Gigantopithecus 350,000 years ago when the climate changed and the fruit that they relied upon no longer grew. Some scientists believe that this food shortage is what led to their extinction, but this theory is not without its caveats. You see, Gigantopithecus was known to be fiercely intelligent. They protected their young, they buried their dead. The discovery of fossilized trees in the region suggests they also carved artworks, and so the question needs to be asked, did Gigantopithecus really just lay down and die? In opposition to the extinction theory, many experts believe Gigantopithecus survived, adapted. They moved northwest into the Himalayan mountains and northeast into the Xishan caves. They embraced their existence as omnivores, eating mushrooms, smaller apes, wild cats, and smaller bears. Some believe they traveled as far as Russia in search of food and crossed the land bridge between Russia and Alaska that existed until 70,000 years ago. But during this time, another ape species emerged, Homo sapiens. To a creature the size of Gigantopithecus, early hominids were not so different to the other small apes it had grown accustomed to hunting, and so, like the progenitors of rhesus monkeys and chimpanzees, humans were on the menu. One of the most significant findings that supports this was discovered in the Baimo Cave, a large limestone cavern in the south of China. In 1985, an earthquake broke open a subchamber of the cave when anthropologist Martin Ewens was nearby. He heard a crash echoing from the cavern and rushed over to explore as soon as the earthquake subsided. The subchamber, which had been sealed off from the outside world for 90,000 years, contained 3 skeletons. 2 belonged to human children, and a third skeleton belonged to an adult male Gigantopithecus. The ape's skeleton lay on top of the children's, a boy and a girl. The skeletons of the children showed that they had been dismembered just prior to death. While the ape's skeleton remained perfectly intact, it has been hypothesized that the creature had been stalking the children, and they fled into the limestone cave to hide. The Gigantopithecus followed them into the dark and devoured them shortly before an earthquake caused the passage to collapse, sealing the creature within. There was no evidence of scuffing on the bones of the ape, and it is believed that the creature suffocated. Much of the local population dismissed the recreation, calling it a story, horrific and tasteless, but some residents of the Guangxi province believed the story had some validity. A hunter named Yunpeng Li came forward with a tale that a tall ape-like creature had been stalking him through the forests around his rural home. But, coming from a rural caste, his story fell on deaf ears. Even as the adult population of Guangxi dismisses the notion that Gigantopithecus still roams the forests, an ancient superstition remains, a legend told to children depicting a great beast in the woods who will find them should they venture into the forests alone. In Central Asia, more evidence of Gigantopithecus and early hominid interaction. The Akbar Caves in eastern Kazakhstan house carvings believed to be scrawled by humans in the region 80,000 years ago. The carvings depict caves and trees that at first seem unremarkable, but disturbingly, in each carving an ape-like creature can be found somewhere among the trees, poking its head around their trunks or buried in the hastily scratched leaves. The creature is also always depicted with an unsettling smile. Sadly, there isn't much else to make of these carvings, as little is known about the early humans who populated the Akbar caves or what became of them. Johann Klempt, a professor of ancient civilizations at the University of Heidelberg, believes that early humans may have hunted the Gigantopithecus out of necessity for survival, and that those coordinated efforts to keep Gigantopithecus away from human civilization is what led to their extinction. The early Homo sapiens would have grown a great distrust for other hominid species, Klimt writes, and it may have been this distrust of other apes that led Homo sapiens to eradicate the Neanderthals 40,000 years ago. Just as Yunpeng Li, many believe that Gigantopithecus exists to this day, that it adapted further to thrive in the shadows, extra to the perception of humanity. There, at the fringes of our civilization, it eats wild fruits, other animals, and humans when they wander too far from the comforts of their homes. It goes by many names: the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and in many parts of the world there are those who claim to have seen one. 5 years ago, a Siberian recluse, while on a walk in the forest with his dog, noticed the dog's ears perked up. She began to whimper while backing away from some bushes. When the hermit investigated, he claims to have seen a tiger being devoured by something resembling a gorilla, but much larger. The great ape was taking sloppy bites out of the wildcat's haunches. The hermit's dog whimpered and barked again, startling the ape, which then climbed a tree, dragging the tiger's limp body up with it. There have also been many sightings of the Bigfoot in North America, although they have largely been non-violent encounters where the creature scrambles out of view. Nevertheless, it is said that 1,600 people go missing from national parks in the USA every year. It makes you wonder, what if Gigantopithecus still lives? What really happens to those who venture beyond the eyes of the world? When the breeze ceased, he knew he had made the right choice. A monolithic city rose from the sand of the distant desert, obsidian towers erupting from its center. At first, it was difficult to discern what he was looking at. The enormous city was surrounded by a structure that made it look small by comparison. Giant walls of dirt and stone. The entire city, in fact, the entire world, appeared to be within a massive rectangular underground tunnel, about 10 kilometers high and 20 kilometers wide. In the indiscriminate distance, casting an orange light between the city's black spires, a monstrous feral star hung ominously in the center of the tunnel. Violent flares licked at the atmosphere around it, expelling waves of heat that he could feel subtly even so far away.